There's two journeys we all need to be on, the earnings journey and the money journey. They need to be parallel. And because our ability to earn is not the wealth that we have, it is the fuel to create the wealth we need.
Hey, my name is Jenna Kutcher, and I am obsessed with all things business, marketing, numbers, and helping you to navigate both the messy and the magical seasons of this thing called life. I'm a small town mama who took a $300 camera, grew a successful photo biz, and now I work from home and run a 7-figure online business. I teach you the tried and true secrets to building a career you adore. Shy away from the real talk? No way. Money, hardship, growth, loss, and marketing are all topics we discuss here. Think of this as your one-stop shop for happy hour with a gal pal mixed with business school. Pull up a seat, make sure you're cozy, and get ready to be challenged and encouraged while you learn. This is the Gold Digger Podcast. Recession, rising interest rates, gas prices, and more, costs just seem to keep going up right now. And all of this can make us feel really uncertain and maybe even scared about our future. But what would it look like if you had a roadmap that works no matter what is happening in the economy? What if you could build a money machine that makes each moment of your life the richest it can be? In a recent survey by Achieve, only a little more than 1 out of 10 people are living their definition of financial freedom. So if you feel like you aren't where you want to be, let me tell you, you are not alone. But it doesn't have to stay that way. Mel Abraham is a CPA, an author, an entrepreneur, and a speaker known for taking seemingly complex concepts and simplifying them through visual frameworks and easy processes. He's built, bought, and sold numerous multi-million-dollar businesses for himself as well as his clients, and he's helped build thousands of businesses and has generated hundreds of millions of dollars, ranging from large corporations to startups and small family-owned businesses. Mel believes that achieving financial freedom isn't about deprivation. It's about intentional decision-making, and that it is your birthright. His brand new book, Building Your Money Machine, is out on June 11th. We've linked it for you in the show notes. Trust me, you're going to want a copy after listening to this episode. In our conversation, he lays down a comprehensive roadmap to financial freedom, from establishing one's vision to creating a self-sustaining money machine. His goal is to help bring your dreams out of the darkness and make a plan to achieve those really big goals, not only to make more money, but to live a legacy and not just leave one. Without further ado, welcome my friend Mel to the Gold Digger Podcast. It's all a little overwhelming, isn't it? Help desk software, payment processing, email marketing tools, blogging platforms, SEO tools, deal management tracking. Gold Digger, take a deep breath, because you don't need more tools to get more out of your business. You just need HubSpot. Their all-in-one customer platform is a dream come true for you and for every member of your team. With best-in-class campaigns and workflows to generate more leads for marketing, category-leading pipeline management to help sales close more deals, powerful AI chatbots, and a knowledge base to help service teams scale, HubSpot is built to deliver results and revenue faster to help your business grow. So dump the disconnected tools and the chaos that comes with them. Discover what HubSpot's all-on-one platform can do to streamline your business. Visit HubSpot.com to grow better today. HubSpot.com. Mel, my friend, you are someone who pretty firmly believes that we have a very broken retirement system. Let's talk about this controversial topic. Like, what do you mean by this? And what does it mean for us who are in the broken system right now?
Oh, this is such a good question, because here's the deal. We got raised in an industrial age with industrial age thinking. And back then it worked. Here's what they did. Work for a company for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. People worked for their whole life. And as a reward for doing that, they gave us a pension. Okay, a lifetime of income, basically. But then our lifetime started to extend out. Yep. And so yep. we got too expensive for them to carry it. And so what they did is they took that and said, we can't afford to do this. We're going to put it in your lap. And they gave us 401ks. They gave us IRAs. They gave us all these other things. What they didn't give us is a lifetime of income. And they didn't give us the understanding. They didn't give us the process. They didn't give us any of that. And even then, the way they started to frame it for us is say, okay, just save all your working years, put it away. Then when you get to that day that you choose to retire, and that's a whole nother discussion, then you sit back and say, reduce your lifestyle by 20% and then spend and then pray that your life doesn't outlast the money. And I think it's a horrible way to go because you're just rolling the dice.
Yes. Yeah.
And so we're now saddled with, I think, the responsibility to create our own lifetime.
Okay. We're going to talk about that today. Oh my gosh. Drew and I were literally just talking about, all four of our parents were in the same job for decades. And it's just crazy because even now when I hire, I'm like, can somebody stay at a job for 3 years? Like, is that a thing? Right. And it is so fascinating, even just in one generation, how much has changed in the way that we look at work, the way that we want to work, the way, that our purpose and our mission and all these things need to really matter for us to want to stay somewhere. And it's just interesting because we're working off of these old systems and these old rules that don't necessarily apply. And I think it's a very confusing thing, especially for people in my generation, because we're like, basically just, we can't bank on anything at this point when it comes to what we can expect in our later years. And so one of the things that I love about you and Mel, you and I go way back, I mean, years and years and years, is that you talk about this, and you talk about this in your new book. You say financial freedom is the smallest piece of the freedom puzzle. And yet you wrote an entire book on this subject. So talk to me about that, because we've had discussions about this offline, but now we're going to bring it online.
Sweet. Yeah. Here's the thing. I do believe that financial freedom is a birthright. The challenge is that then at the same time, we were raised in an environment saying, don't talk about money. Don't have these conversations. But if you look, new statistics just came out. American Psychological Association said 72% of people say they're stressed about money. 22% say it's extreme stress. But at the same time, don't talk about it. Well, how do we solve that?
Yeah.
You have to talk about it. And to me, the book was the opening volley to say, let's have a real conversation about money. It doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't have to be convoluted. Let's make it simple. Let's put the power into everyone's hands to take control of a financial destiny that is of their own design, not what society puts on us, not what degrees or careers put on us, but a choosing that you get to choose and say, I'm going to craft it my way and I'm going to live it my way. And that's kind of where it all stemmed from, was this idea of I believe that not only is it a right, but I also believe it's a possibility. And if you look at stats on it, 80%, 79% of millionaires are first generation. They didn't inherit it. They didn't win it. They didn't get it gifted to them. They created it. So I can go an 8 out of 10. Odds are good on our side.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. It's so funny. The other day, I was with some family members, and I love numbers. Even since I was a kid, I can literally tell you how much the new siding on our house cost when I was like 12 years old, because I was a kid asking those questions to my parents. Like, I wanted to know numbers. I had to know numbers. It probably drove my parents crazy. And I love talking about numbers with people. And oftentimes I'll leave conversations and I'm like, should I have said that? Should I not have said that? But I think that so often it's like, we need to turn the lights on when it comes to finances. And I think for so many people, especially with those stats about stress and extreme stress, it's almost like the monster under the bed of like, well, we can't talk about it. I don't know enough about it. I don't even know where to begin with it. I have no one to go to for this. And so it's scary, right? And so tell me how you got into this whole like financial world, this money business. Like, where did all this come from for you?
We'll go back a ways. So like, I got fascinated with just entrepreneurship in general at age 11, primarily because I was sitting with my dad watching a movie with Janet Leigh and Tony Curtis about Harry Houdini's life. And I'm going, this guy is so cool. No boxes, no chains held him. And I studied him and I got fascinated with magic. And I would go in the summer months, I would literally take the bus. You wouldn't do this with your kids today, but take the bus to a magic shop down across the valley. And I would spend the days there. learning magic. And some guy comes in, I remember one day, and is talking to the owner, and he says something about doing a gig this weekend. And he walks out, and I said, "What's a gig?" And the owner says, "Oh, he does magic shows and gets paid." And I go, "I can get paid to do this?" So I went out and I created a half-hour magic show that I decided to do for kids' birthday parties at 11 years old. And I started to get paid $50 for a half-hour show. And I'm like going, this is cool. And the spark that it lit was the possibility of doing something you love and creating happiness or creating positivity in someone's life to change people's lives. And I thought, this is something that I want to do. And so going through that, now, bottom line is the other side of this is you got to know your market. I was doing magic shows as a clown, right? Kids are scared of clowns. So you got to know your market. Yeah. All right. So, but the reality is that after that, I said, how do I do more of this? And so I went to school. I became an accountant, which really quickly I figured out was a boring job, but I said it gave me a skill set. So how do I build businesses? How do businesses work? But more importantly, how do we use businesses to fuel people's dreams? To create something that is beyond just the business, solve problems, but create a dream life. And that's where I started to get fascinated with the connection between the two and finances and money. But in the end, the biggest shift for me was at the hands of a 6-year-old. And that was this, is that as I was building my business, my practice, my consulting, if you were, I became a single full-time dad of my son. And at 5.5 years old, he's living with me. I'm doing the thing. I'm on the treadmill running the miles. And he comes in one day and says, Daddy, I drew a picture of you at school today. And so I kneel down and I look at this picture, and it's me standing in front of 2 computer screens with a phone in each ear and one on the desk ring. And it was a mirror into my soul. And it was a way for him to look at me and say, Dad, I know you think we need the profits, but I need your presence. And that's when I started to say, there has to be a better way to do business. There has to be a better way to do money. And that's when my whole shift happened. Now, mind you, that was decades ago. He's 34 now, but it's the thing that was the catalyst to start investigating, finding a different way instead of just the well-worn path of expectation. Just work hard. They'll get over it. No, the greatest gift I was given was to be a dad and to be a good dad. And I wanted to make sure that I did that for him, because no matter how much money was in the bank, if I failed at that, then I failed.
Wow. I think that there are so many people right now listening, and they're like, I don't want to ask my kids to draw a picture of me right now. But the reality is that is so true. If somebody's listening to this right now and they're like, my kid or my, imaginary child would draw something that I don't want to see, like, how do we start to make steps out of this cultural norm or those cultural expectations to start building something that does give us ultimate freedom, and not just financial freedom, but like true freedom of like flexibility? Yeah.
Well, I think that there was a couple things. One is, at that time, I got the typical advice: get work-life balance, work-life balance, work-life balance. And I said, but the challenge is that as I thought about it, I go, that's like saying I got a weight in one hand, a weight in the other hand, and they're playing tug of war, and on average, I'm balanced. It isn't balance we need.
No.
It's harmony we need. And harmony is built on intent. And so one of the things that I started to do, and I know that you do this, Jenna, is that I became a hyper intentional with my time and the things I did. And so I made everything a choice. Now, even with Jeremy at 6 years old, the thing that I did with him is I created a calendar. And there was red zones in the calendar that he knew were 100% his. And it translates to money too. But in advance, he knew that all the red zones were his. And he also knew that any other color on the calendar, he could turn red if he wanted. So he knew he was a priority. He knew that intent, where I was going to be, how it was going to be done. And so that was one of the first things I did. The second thing was the realization that as long as my earnings are tied to my efforts, I will never be free. And I had to find a way to detach the earnings from the efforts. And that was the birth of the idea of the money machine is sitting back and say, especially because I was an accountant. We sold hours. It's the worst business model in the world.
Right.
You know? So if I wasn't peddling the hours, then I wasn't making money and everything stopped. And there had to be a way to change it. And there's still people that are doing it today, but I think that you have to find a way to separate earnings from efforts. And when you do, that's when you start to have more choice in life and the ability to be more intentional with the time. And I think that's where our freedom lies, is in that what I call the money machine, when we've separated it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Hey, goal diggers. Lately, I've been getting excited to finish furnishing our new home, which is why I want to tell you about a brand that we absolutely love, which is Article. I have been a fan and a customer of Article for years. I'm always blown away by the curated assortment of furniture styles they offer. They have mid-century modern, coastal, industrial, Scandinavian, and even boho designs. There is something for everyone, no matter your taste. In our last house, we had their sofa and leather chairs. At our lake house, we have their dining table and chairs. We also just ordered some of their outdoor furniture for our new patio. Like, if you can't tell, we are obsessed with Article. The quality and style are top notch. Article's online only model means that they can offer some great prices with fast and hassle-free delivery. Pick the delivery time that works for you, and they keep you updated every step of the way. Article's customer is also amazing. They're knowledgeable, friendly, and always there when you need them. If you're like me and you're itching to give your home a makeover, I highly recommend checking out Article. They believe in delightful design for every home, and thanks to their commitment to style, quality, and affordability, it's never been easier to transform your space. Article is offering our listeners $50 off your first purchase of $100 or more. To claim, visit article.com/goaldigger, and the discount will be automatically applied at checkout. That's article.com/goaldigger for $50 off your first purchase of $100 or more. Goal diggers, we all know the B2B landscape can be a bit complex. From lengthy buying cycles to complicated decision-making processes, reaching your target audience can be tough. But I found a solution tailored just for you: LinkedIn ads. A whopping 79% of B2B content marketers say LinkedIn produces the best results for paid media. That's because with LinkedIn ads, you're not just casting a wide net and hoping for the best, you're strategically building relationships and driving real results. We're talking about a platform with over 1 billion members, including 180 million senior level executives and 10 million C-level executives. You are networking with the actual decision makers. And LinkedIn's targeting and measurement tools are specifically designed for B2B marketers, meaning you're not wasting time or money on irrelevant leads. In fact, in the tech industry, LinkedIn ads have been shown to generate 2 to 5 times higher return on ad spend compared to other social media platforms. Using LinkedIn ads allows you to stay ahead of the curve when it comes to industry trends and developments, whether it's finding the perfect partner for a collaboration or uncovering new opportunities for growth. LinkedIn can be your secret weapon. Make B2B marketing everything it can be and get a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/goal to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/goal. Terms and conditions apply.
There's so much that you just said that I'm like, yep. I remember, Mel, when we went through our pregnancy loss and I had to show up and shoot a wedding. And it was like this huge realization because I had hit 6 figures. I had hit all these milestones that I was crazy proud of. And I mean, they were big deals. But at the same point, it hit me so hard then of like, if I don't show up, the money doesn't come. And I had built this magnificent, powerful, successful business. And yet it didn't allow me to be a human. Like there was no space for you to have a human experience within that. You were a machine in that way of like, if I need to be running in order for my business to run. And that day I like vowed, like, I will figure out a different way. There has to be a different way because life is going to knock you to your knees at some point. And when you realize that you're either, the only time to earn more is by working more, that is not freedom. It is not freedom. You brought up this idea of the money machine. Let's talk about it. Everyone's ears perked up. Okay, walk us through. What is this? How do you make one? How did you come up with this?
So we're raised to get a job, or we have to earn money. We know we have to earn money. And too often we think that the earning of the money itself will solve all the problems down the road. And it isn't. So there's two journeys we all need to be on: the earnings journey and the money journey. They need to be parallel. And because our ability to earn is not the wealth that we have, it is the fuel to create the wealth we need. And so when we start to earn, we need to use it to create something outside of the efforts to earn it. And that is the money machine. It is built on the pillars of things. People will call it passive income. I don't like the term passive because it insinuates set it and forget it. And I believe that our relationship with wealth and money is a relationship. And someone who's been married, Steph and I will be 13 years. You guys have been married for a while. It's like, if you took a passive approach to your relationship, it would wither and die.
Right.
It's the same thing with money.
Yeah.
So I like to look at it through the eyes of leveraged time. How much effort, how much time does it take to really create it? Well, if you look at, and I'll go through it quickly, but if you look at, there's 5 levels of income you can generate. At the first level, it's active. This is where we all start. One-on-one relationship, effort, and money. In this is sole jobs, solopreneurs. That's it. You're running it, you're doing everything, and you're generating it.
Yeah.
There's no room for you in there. Then you elevate one level up. That's business income. That's when you start to bring in team, or you start to bring in other people. You start using the money to buy your time back. And so you're now leveraging it, but you're not leveraging it as much. So those bottom 2 is where most people live, and it's where I make the majority of my money from my lifestyle right now.
Yeah.
But I used it to build the top 3. Your money machine is built on the top 3. The next level up of leverage is something called asset-based income. It is acquiring something, an asset, a hard asset. It could be a property, real estate. It could be a piece of equipment, something that you can buy and rent and get paid for. There's effort at the beginning. There's some effort during the time, but it's far less effort than an active business.
Yep.
So now all of a sudden you're building these leveraged assets. Above that is residual income. And residual income is when you create something once and you get paid repeatedly. My book, for instance, courses in some cases, although they can be heavy lifting too, but licensing deals, downlines on network marketing, intellectual property rights, white labeling, all those things can create residual forms of income where you put a lot of effort in to create something, but now we put it out there and we start collecting royalties. I still collect royalty checks on my book that I wrote in 2015. So you get a chance to do that. And then the top rung is what we call portfolio income. That's paper assets. That's stocks. That's what we typically think of investing: stocks, ETFs, index funds, bonds, annuities, those kinds of things. Yeah. And the combination of the top 3 of asset, residual, and portfolio is where you build the money machine. And here's the power behind it. I make a living off the bottom 2, active in business. It pays all our bills. We built a machine that can pay all our bills too, but it's reinvesting itself, so it keeps growing and growing. In 2019, I was diagnosed with cancer. They found a 5-centimeter tumor, turned out to be 7.5 centimeter tumor in my bladder. And at that point, when they first found it, they said, we might have to remove the prostate. We might have to put a bag and tube in for the kidney. And if it's bad, you're going to lose your bladder. So life got turned upside down. We can talk about the emotions. I dealt with the emotions, the physicality, the medical, the psychological, all of it, but I didn't deal with the finances. And here's why. At the time, I was making money in my active and business income. And I looked at my wife and I looked at my son. I said, we're shutting it all down. because I can't. I need to fight this and I wasn't scared of the cancer. I was scared of missing out on the life I loved. That's the thing that pained me most. And I said, I'm going to be here. Plus, I told Stephanie she hadn't served enough of her sentence to get out that quickly. so we then took those top three, and I talked to my wealth team. I said, turn the switch on and let it start sending the money to us.
Yeah.
Now, the difference is this. I wasn't draining savings. I wasn't selling things. It was generating cash flow and still growing just at a slower rate as if it was a money machine. And I said, let it pay for our lifestyle. We didn't sell stuff. Cancer changes your life, but it didn't change us financially. And as I came out of the cancer, I was able to tell them, let's shut that back down. Let's keep it growing and turn back on the active and business income and get back in the game. And so what it did is, because I can't imagine what it would have been like to work during the day to make a living and fight for my life during the night.
Yeah.
It just wasn't possible to fight it the way I wanted to, the way I needed to. And this gave me choice. It gave me options, and it gave me the possibility to sit back and say, I don't care what doctors I got to go to. I don't care what lengths I have to go to. We have options. And at the same time, I know that the people I loved, the causes that mattered, were cared for and taken care of no matter what happened.
I think this is so powerful because you had it set up. And I think for most people, this would be the end of them in so many ways because we don't have the knowledge and the wherewithal that you had set up. And, it's so interesting because when I think about wealth and the two things that it has given me the most of is freedom and choice. And I just feel like those two things change lives. Like it's not about the things, it's about the ability to have freedom and choice. And you had both of those. What would you say to somebody who feels like they don't have even enough money to start outsourcing to get to tier 2, or somebody who's listening and they're like, I want to get to that top tier, but like I'm in debt. Like, where do we start to like kind of uncover and meet people where they're at to start to build up?
Beautiful. So the first thing is this. We have to commit to something, and that is to get on the field. We cannot win the wealth game sitting in the stands or the sidelines. Yep. So the first piece really is up-leveling our understanding and education. If we're in debt, then if we're in a hole, first thing, stop digging. So if we're going into debt, or there's a difference between going into debt every month, deeper into debt, or that I'm just carrying debt that I just can't get out of. Yep. I'm going deeper into debt. We have to stop the bleeding. We got to find a way to plug the hole. That means that we have to be very critical about where the money's going to start cutting some things out if we can. But I don't believe 100% in just deprivation is the way out. We have to build something. And that means we have to examine the other side of the equation, and that is my income. How do I generate more income? How do I get a bigger shovel? One of the biggest things I actually think that people have a hard time with is just valuing themselves and saying, am I getting paid my worth? Am I owning my worth with conviction and saying, no, I'm worth more than that? And really asking for what they're worth, because all of a sudden, people aren't getting paid their worth because they're timid or they don't even acknowledge it. Like I have an identical twin brother. And there was one time years ago, we had a conversation. This is a guy who built a business, built a company as a CFO to over $125 million. 2008 hit. It was in the real estate. They had to reorganize all the debt and redo all this stuff. And he literally says, what skills do I have? What value do I have in the marketplace? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
The skill sets and the muscle you built. And we tend to not own our value. And I think that's the first place. Before you sit back and say, where can I generate more income? First, am I owning my value? Then let's look at how we can then monetize that value. Those are the first two places to go. The second thing is this, is that wealth creation is more about behaviors than it is about money. And I've said this a lot where I say, no one has money issues, which is confronting for people. They go, you haven't seen my bank account. And I said, No, what you have is money symptoms, and they're symptoms of decisions, habits, and behaviors from the past. And I don't say it to criticize, I say it to empower you, because if it is decisions, habits, and behaviors, then all I got to do is change those and we get different results. So when people say, well, how much? I don't have a lot to start. I don't care if it's $5 because even $5 starts to create the behavior that will turn into 10, 100, 1,000. We just got to start. We got to get in the game and start exercising the muscle that hasn't been exercised.
When I was starting my journey with online courses nearly a decade ago, I needed a platform that could keep up with my dreams and support my vision. And Kajabi came to the rescue. I've been a paying customer of Kajabi for years upon years. They are the only platform I use, trust, and recommend for online course creators. Kajabi is the ultimate one-stop shop that empowers you to build a thriving online business and generate predictable recurring revenue. Whether you're creating online courses, exclusive membership sites, or hosting subscription podcasts, Kajabi has got you covered. Kajabi will handle your transactions without taking a single penny of your money. That's right. You get to keep 100% of what you earn. Plus, you get powerful analytics, easy payment options, email marketing tools, and customizable website templates. The cool thing is, too, you don't need a huge audience to make a sustainable income. There are thousands of creators on Kajabi making 6 and 7 figures with less than 50,000 followers. It's all about leveraging the right tools and strategies to grow your business, and Kajabi makes that possible. Right now, Kajabi is offering a free 30-day trial if you go to kajabi.com/Jenna. That's kajabi.com/Jenna. Head to kajabi.com/Jenna and join the creators and entrepreneurs who have made over $7 billion. On top of my many titles as mom, entrepreneur, and creative, I've also added host. Drew and I host on Airbnb on our favorite island in Hawaii. We started hosting as a way to make some extra income, and we've had such an easy breezy experience. Now we host year after year, and it's been a fantastic side hustle. Not to brag, but we've also been crowned Airbnb Superhost several times, so we are really killing the game. It's about having spaces we can enjoy as a family while creating memorable experiences for our guests, and it helps that we earn a little extra cash on the side. Your home might be worth more than you think. Find out how much at airbnb.com/host. One thing that I have encountered a lot, I think, and it was a belief that even I held too, was like I almost kept putting the starting line further and further away of like, okay, well, first I got to pay off my student loans, then I got to pay off our wedding, then once I hit this amount, then I'll start investing. Once I do and it's like, and I think that so many young people, we feel that like forever young energy, which is beautiful. But, I think that a lot of times we even disqualify ourselves from starting because one, we don't feel like we have the level of knowledge required to do it wisely or to do it correctly. But two, I think it's like almost this limiting belief of like, well, I've got to hit this threshold before this begins without realizing like we can start today.
Yeah, you can start today, and it can be simple. Here, think about it this way. If all I got you to do is this, put $5, $10 a week, $10 a day, whatever it is, into a high yield savings account automatically. That's it. You already started. Now you're in the game.
Yeah.
And right now we can get 5%. It's not great, but it certainly isn't horrible, and it gets you in the game. I've got a kid, Henry, 16-and-a-half-year-old kid that joined one of my programs. And literally 6 months ago, we're chatting on one of the calls, and he says, I got a job. What do I do? I said, open a Roth IRA. So he's 17. He was 17 at the time he got the job. 3 weeks ago, we're on a phone call and on another call. And he says, I funded the Roth. How do I invest it? And I said, I said, you're 17? He says, no, I just turned 18. So I'm thinking, how much could an 18-year-old put away? $500, $1,000. So how much you put away? He says, I fully funded 2023 and I already funded 2024. And I go, well, wait a second. You're 18. You put $6,500 away for 2023 and $7,000 for 24 already? He says, yeah. He says, it helps because I'm living at home. I go, no. And I said, dude, let me do the math for you. At 18 years old, you put money away, it will go up 107 times if you put it in just one thing, S&P 500 index fund, low fees, low cost. Don't do anything else, not complicated, one choice. 107 times based on historical averages. That means you're already a millionaire. We just have to avoid stupid, okay? You just have to, and if we keep building it, you go from there. Here's the thing. That's why it's so important. Get in early. You may not have put 13,000 away, but you get a multiple at 18, 100 times. Watch what happens. At 20 years old, your multiple's 88 times.
Okay.
When you wait 5 years at 25, it drops to 44. When you get to 30, it's 23. Still good. But you see how getting in early, and this is why I think we ought to be having the conversations with our youth early too, is really important, because we can solve their problems. We can give them that freedom with very little. The longer time we have, the less money we need. The shorter time we have, the more money we need. It's just a math equation, but it doesn't have to be complicated. What did I tell them to do? One investment to start. Complication creates friction, creates resistance, creates risk. Risk creates loss. Don't do it.
Yeah.
One or two things that you're going to invest in from the beginning, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's so funny, Mel. I'm so mad at myself, but high yield savings accounts, we have had money in the bank and our bank never even really told us about it, as in like the option of a high yield. And now our money is just making money. And I'm like, wait a minute, like it could have been doing this for a decade. So if anyone is listening to this podcast, go research high yield savings accounts. You can, even if you have $100 sitting and you're getting 5% monthly, your money is earning you money. Like, and it's just crazy. One thing that I appreciate you, and I remember us having this conversation in Puerto Rico, you were about to have your first grandchild and I had just had Coco, I think. So it was 5 years ago. And I was like, what should we be doing for our children? Like what are things, tangible things that we could do right now that are easy, especially as entrepreneurs for our kids? What would you say to that now? And has it changed at all?
Oh, well, I've got two granddaughters.
Yep.
So, and we're doing the same thing for both of them at the moment. One is that when they were born, we put $500 away.
Okay.
Then we're putting $25 away a week.
Okay.
So basically $100 a month. And I'm going to do it for 20 years. And so the first 20 years, I'm going to put away a little over $20,000 a year, $24,000 a year for them, not per year, but $24,000 total. That will grow to over $1.5 million for them. And so whether you worry about like a 529 plan or an education plan, all that stuff, I wouldn't even worry about it right from the get-go, because literally in the first 20 years, you can set them up in a way that you give them an opportunity. Now, here's the important part of this. You never pass on assets without passing on skill sets, chapter in the book. Because I'm never, like even Jeremy, he had to earn the right to get the machine.
Yep.
I was not just giving it to him. It wasn't going to be this silver spoon baby that sat back and said, Daddy created this. I'm just going to wait for Daddy to kick.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to do that. He had to earn it. And the way he earned it is that he showed that he had the skills to respect it and continue what was created. Because I want to look at my life as an inflection point for my family tree, that things shift, things change, things will move, and that they completely shift. For them in that way. And so we have to create an environment where we have the conversations and we build it. So what did I do with Jeremy? And I think this is the cool thing, especially if you're an entrepreneur. I started paying Jeremy a commission at age 11, about the same time I was doing magic shows. And out of that commission, he did a couple things. One, he had a portion that he allocated for generosity. You figure out the cause you want. Here's a list of them, and you're going to put a little bit away towards that. Two, he was going to pay for his lunches and some things that he wanted, so he got used to using that. And three, he was going to invest. And because I was paying him an income instead of an allowance, we put it on a tax return, which meant that he had earned income, which meant that he could create a Roth IRA And we'll talk about the power of that in a moment. And then, so I said, and now here's what I'm going to do. For every dollar you put in the Roth IRA, I will match you. And so I matched him on it because I wanted him to have skin in the game. I wanted him to step in the water first. I would step in with him. And so now he's investing in the Roth, and we have the opportunity now to open up the conversations in a different way. Mm-hmm. And now the beauty behind the Roth is it will grow 100% tax-free. By the time he's ready to retire, when he needs to take the money out or wants to take the money out, he never pays a dime in tax on it. Yep. Henry, the 18-year-old, that $1.3 million that he has already built, it just has to wait time. He'll never pay a dime in tax on it. It's done. And so I started him in that process, and then I kept with him every step of the way. When it came age to get his first car, I'll match your down payment. So you come up with the down payment, I will match it. And so I stayed with him every step of the way. But the big thing is, if we start early, we don't need a lot to take care of our kids. And we think that we need to do that. Now, there's another side of this. I have something in the book called the Wealth Priority Ladder that literally tells you everything you need to do, each dollar, how it's allocated. And in there, I make the statement that paying for your kids' college is optional, which is a hot take for some people. But here's why I say this. Your kids, I get that we want to give them a college education, maybe, and we want to pay for it and give them the option of it. But we don't do it at the risk of our financial future. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what I've seen families do is they sign on Parent Plus loans, they go into debt, and they jeopardize their financial future. Here's what we know. Going into school, kids have plenty of options. If we get them involved early like we do, and we say, like Jeremy wanted to go to film school at USC, which would have been $250,000. I got him to bite into the entrepreneur bug, and he went a different route, which saved me $250,000. But I want people to look at it this way. If a kid wants to go to school, they have the opportunity to get scholarships, to get grants, to go into work programs, to do things to participate in it, mm-hmm. and say, oh, I have a role in this journey. My parents aren't just going to cut a check for me to go party at school. I have to have a perspective in it and doing that. The other problem with putting money away for a kid's college, we don't know if they're going to school. Yeah. We don't know if they're finishing school.
Right.
We don't know any of that. But what we do know is your financial future's coming. Mm-hmm. That's a certainty. Mm-hmm. And I think we fund the certainties before we fund the uncertainties. And because your options, the kids have options for college, your options when it comes to your retirement or your financial future are what? Government handouts or your kid's couch. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Neither one's good. So let's fix that first. And then we can, once we know that that's getting funded, doesn't have to be fully funded, but that is getting done, then we can look towards the kids' college. But I think that you have the opportunity to do this better when we start earlier because it takes much, much smaller dollars.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so much. My parents didn't pay for our college. And I remember I literally applied for every single scholarship. And my mom was like, this is the easiest money you will ever earn, of like writing a submission letter and different things like that. And then I worked, in a paper mill in the summer to pay for my tuition and things like that. But one thing my grandparents did, and I'm like, man, to think of like Depression era aged people, is that they started a savings account, and for every birthday, first communion, different things like that, instead of giving us a card with money, they put money into that account for us. And after we collected all the cards with, the $5 and the $10 in it, they said, any amount you give us today will match for you. And so it was like, I can literally viscerally remember being like 8 years old, doing my first communion. I had maybe, $80. And I was like, okay, do I want $160 in the future, or do I want, the $80 now? And it was just such a cool lesson that they taught us of like learning that. And, for Christmas every year, they would just print out a picture of our statement, and that was our gift.
Oh my God.
But it was just, there's so many principles like that it doesn't have to be a lot to start learning. And I remember too, my mom, we would have 3 mason jars and we would get $3 a week for doing our chores. And one jar was for keep, one jar was for give, so helping others, and one jar was for spending. So it was like save, give, spend. And just to see that, put out there, I think it builds that muscle, and it also just helps you see, like money in your pocket. Like it doesn't have to burn a hole. It can really become something. And, it's so interesting because I think so many of us want to do right, but we don't even know how to do it ourselves. And so I'm so excited about your book. Tell us a little bit about your book and where people can get it and why they need to get their hands on it, because I think it's just going to be such a game changer.
So it's called Building Your Money Machine, How to Get Your Money to Work Harder for You Than You Did for It. It is part money philosophy. It's part money mindset, part strategy and action steps, step-by-step frameworks. I wrote the book. Here's when I look at this is most people, including myself early on, had difficulty talking about money and about wealth and all of that stuff. And we've had these money set points. And I said, this book has to be approachable. Yeah. And so it is driven by story. It is driven by my hand-drawn framework pictures. It is all driven to make it simple, approachable, and accessible, and to give people the recipe, no matter their age or stage or situation in life, to say, okay, I can start here and I can move to here. Yeah. And literally giving them a step-by-step process to say, with this dollar, you want to first start it here and then here. Now, the book itself isn't just about money. It is more about life and how it impacts us and how money impacts us. Because I truly believe you cannot separate the two. Creating wealth, just a big bank account, isn't life. I see people that are extremely, extremely wealthy in their bank accounts, but they're horribly bankrupt in their life. And so when I wrote the book, I didn't want it to be a typical money book that was just about the money and about the bank accounts and the statistics. No, it starts off with saying, hey, what do you want for your life? Yeah. Your life, not what society says your career does, your degree does, your parents, your siblings. You take time to sit back and say, what kind of health do I want? Relationship, children, all of it. Yeah. And now use the money as the tool to make that the reality, because we can't separate it. And so the book starts out with, what do you want to define your life like? Now, how do we put a price tag on it? And how do we create the map to make it the reality? On the other side of this is that when you do this right and you build the money machine, just like I'm planning on doing, is that you have the opportunity to be that financial inflection point for your family. Yeah. So now, God forbid something happens to me, it moves to Stephanie, and then it moves to Jeremy, as long as they've earned the right, which they have, and Cammie and my grandkids. And now all of a sudden, we create this snowball effect that moves the machine to give them the opportunity to live the life of their dreams and live it with a set of values that's embedded in it, with creating value and creating something that's meaningful for other people. And so I look at legacy very different than most. They say, oh, I want to leave a legacy behind. I don't want to leave a legacy. I believe our legacy isn't what we create and build to leave for someone. I believe a legacy is what we live and leave in someone each day that we live. So I want to live the legacy, and then I want to allow someone to take the baton and move it on to the next generation. And that's how I look at it.
Where can everybody get this book? Get your hands on it.
Go to yourmoneymachinebook.com, and in there you can order the book. And I have some other resources for you as gifts to help accelerate your path and facilitate that in there. And I believe financial freedom is that birthright. I want to help people claim it, and I'm on a crusade to light that path for 1 million families. And this is the opening ball.
Thank you, Mel. This was so powerful. Everybody go grab a copy of this book. I'm so excited to walk through it as a family and to ask those bigger questions and create that plan. I love it. And I'm so thankful that you wrote it.
Thank you.
Let me tell you I do not think talking about money is taboo. I think we need to invite more of these conversations and ideas and strategies into our conversations. There is just so much power when we start to shine the light into the dark abyss that money can feel like. I am so grateful for Mel. I have walked alongside him through his journey with cancer, through the book writing process, through his life. And he has just been such an amazing sounding board when it comes to complex topics around money. I'm so thrilled he took all of his ideas and strategies and put them into this book. Make sure you go grab your copy. We've linked it in the show notes and show description for you. And one of the things I love about his book is he has conversation starters to help you start talking about money with your loved ones, with your family, with your children, to really help lay that foundation and get clear on what success really looks like for you and what freedom is that you're after. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Goal Digger Podcast. I hope you loved today's conversation. If you haven't in a while, make sure that you are subscribed. And if you are willing to, leave a review. We love hearing from you. I love hosting this show because I love hosting these conversations. And I hope today's episode touched you. Thank you so much for listening to the Goal Digger Podcast. Until next time, keep on digging your biggest goals. I'm over here giving you a virtual high five because you just finished another episode of the Goal Digger Podcast. Did that go by way too fast for anyone else? If you want more, head over to goaldiggerpodcast.com for show notes and all the discount codes from today's sponsors. And if you're looking for a new crew of movers and shakers like you to bounce ideas and ask questions, be sure to join my exclusive community for Goal Diggers on Facebook. The link's waiting for you at goaldiggerpodcast.com. Hey, Goal Diggers. Lately, I've been getting excited to finish furnishing our new home, which is why I want to tell you about a brand that we absolutely love, which is Article. I have been a fan and a customer of Article for years. I'm always blown away by the curated assortment of furniture styles they offer. They have mid-century modern, coastal, industrial, Scandinavian, and even boho designs. There is something for everyone, no matter your taste. In our last house, we had their sofa and leather chairs. At our lake house, we have their dining table and chairs. We also just ordered some of their outdoor furniture for our new patio. Like, if you can't tell, we are obsessed with Article. The quality and style are top notch. Article's online only model means that they can offer some great prices with fast and hassle-free delivery. Pick the delivery time that works for you, and they keep you updated every step of the way. Article's customer is also amazing. They're knowledgeable, friendly, and always there when you need them. If you're like me and you're itching to give your home a makeover, I highly recommend checking out Article. They believe in delightful design for every home, and thanks to their commitment to style, quality, and affordability, it's never been easier to transform your space. Article is offering our listeners $50 off your first purchase of $100 or more. To claim, visit article.com/goaldigger and the discount will be automatically applied at checkout. That's article.com/goaldigger for $50 off your first purchase of $100 or more.